I am a little cold because I had the windows all open because it started raining randomly. Hi, Kevin. Yeah. Hello. I also never part my hair in the middle. I guess very rarely. And it feels really weird. Whatever. Okay. Hello. Today we are going to work on our back crosses. I put a poll on my Instagram story a few days ago. Actually, yeah, a few days ago. And I was trying to decide between back crosses, toe spins, or the strut walk. We're gonna go with back crosses. Most of you were very honest, which I appreciate, and were like, I want to work on the spins and the strut, but I should work on my back crosses. So we're gonna do back crosses first. I also want to wish everyone a happy holidays to start with. Back crosses. A few weeks ago we did forward crosses. Today we are going to do back crosses. If you remember in the beginning of the forward cross video, I said that I got into a lot of trouble with well, not a lot of trouble, it really was not a big deal, but this coach got mad at me for how I was explaining a back cross. So we will get into that more today. I think it's funny because he was very passionate about this and I thought it was funny. So let's start with how you even get your foot there to be able to cross. So a lot of people say that their thighs are too big to like reach back and cross. The trick is not with the thighs, the trick is with the foot. So I don't care how big or strong your thighs are, you will be able to do this. Even if it's not like a perfectly tight cross, a back cross is a back cross. The main thing, no matter what, on any cross you're doing, is that you want your feet to be parallel when they are crossing. This helps if you do this on an edge. So like from an outer edge to an inner edge is the typical back cross. You can do it from an inner edge to an outer edge, but it's a little sketchy. So typically you want to do this on somewhat of an edge. It doesn't need to be a super strong edge, just somewhat of an edge. How to get your foot in the cross. Let me turn around for you to see this. So you have to kind of tweak your ankle like this to get it to go like this to get over. So my ankle goes from here to there. So it kind of turns in. Try to only do this with your ankle. Try not to turn your knee in too much. Try to just tweak it with the ankle. So let me show you from a few different angles. Here, ankles from angles. Here and here. The knee does turn in. I just don't want the hip to also turn with it. So try to just isolate the ankle. If the knee feels that it needs to turn in as well, fine. Just don't let that hip move. So wherever this right hip, oh, sorry, I'm also doing this standing on my left foot. You can do this both sides. I encourage you to do it both sides. I will probably demonstrate most of this standing on my left leg though and crossing my right foot behind me. So the right hip, make sure that doesn't drop or anything like that. It should stay as level as possible. If you're doing this on an outside edge, the right hip will be lifted a little bit. So that's fine, just leave it there so you don't have to move any of that as you're doing the cross. The hips will stay the same. Once you get that foot being able to do this motion, you have to reach it behind over here. While you're reaching for that, make sure you're not putting too much weight into that right foot that's in the air. Make sure your weight is solid over that left skate and only over that left skate. You're gonna have to balance for a second when you're doing this, so make sure your balance is good on that left foot or whatever foot is on the ground. Make sure you're solid with your knee over that skate. If you're on an outside edge, it'll just be tilted to the outside of your skate. Your knee will just be tilted. Try not to turn it too much. The knee should always be over your toes. So make sure your balance is good there on that skate that's on the ground. Move this over. As you bring it over back here to cross behind it, you'll notice if you don't come up in this knee, you will tap your wheels or your toe stop or just your skate in general will hit the ground. So you want to come up a little bit as you're doing this. So this combination right here needs to get comfortable, which is a very good workout. If you just keep doing this, it ends up hurting quite a bit. So practice this. When you come up on this knee, make sure you're not coming up too high. Make sure it's still a soft bend. Ow, if you're doing that, make sure to do the other side because you will get too sore on one side. Okay, now putting the foot down. This is the scary part, at least for me. I recommend doing this stationary or on grass or carpet, something where you won't be rolling a ton or just holding on to something. So once you get this motion, it's ready to go down on the ground. So when you put this down on the ground, this is where I got into an argument with that coach on the East Coast. I try to keep my weight in the same spot. Obviously you're switching feet, so it can't fully stay in the same spot, but my center, I try to keep it here in the middle and transferring the weight. And then I'm pretty much in the same spot. So my body doesn't have to move at all. It's like here, you come up, you transfer, find your new center, and settle down. He was saying something about keeping the weight on the toe so that you stay forward like this. And I was like, that's gonna be ugly because your booty is gonna be sticking out like that when you finish it. We don't want that. So we got into this whole debate with my parents and everything. And we were in our kitchen doing this and going through our crosses and practicing our crosses and discussing how we would do a cross. And they thought that with me coming up and then explaining the transfer of the weight to the other foot, that a lot of people would fall back. So I'm here to say, don't lock your knees and don't send your hips forward. Do not do that. If you send your hips forward, you are likely to have this skate even go out from under you and end up on your back. We don't want that. So anyway, that was the debate. So when you're putting this foot down, easily transfer it from like the pinky toe wheel, the baby toe wheel, and then transfer to, I can't balance like this. So the front wheel, the front right wheel, then the back right wheel, then transfer over to the whole skate. As you do this, if you look closely, you'll see that this foot starts to change as well. So I'm here, here, there. So for a moment, it feels like stationary anyway. When we're rolling, it doesn't really happen, but stationary, it feels like toe, back wheel. Then as I start to drift over to that skate, the inner wheels of this side start lifting, and then I'm fully on my right skate. So let me show you from here. And you like hold on to these. And then I'll show you how to release that foot and get it in front safely. So practice that, this transition, boom. You can go back over, boom. And you don't need to be able to do this without holding on to anything. I encourage you to hold on to something actually. Right there. And this is about how close my feet are. In artistic skating, they encourage you to have them like that, like very close. If you're not an artistic skater, you don't need to have it that close. This is comfortable. That's like a comfortable position right there to cross. And like I said at the beginning, it's so much easier if you do an outside edge on the foot that's on the ground first, transfer over to an inside edge, because then you're less likely to hit. Of course, you want your feet to be as parallel as possible, but in the off chance that you've messed up slightly, it's easier to have it on an outside edge and then to an inside edge, so you're still going along the same circle. If you don't hit that transfer from outer to inner, then you'll likely either hit or split and go. That way I can't even do it. So you want to make sure you're going outer to inner or inner to outer, although that rarely happens. Before I go into the next thing, let's talk about the seat, the booty. So as you are transferring your weight over to that new foot, because you came up, then you don't want it to like drop or go super up. You want it to match. So wherever your knees are here in your body, you got to remember this feeling, wherever you are when you're going into the cross. Then you come up match the knee bend, because you're basically gonna have to at first. Match the knee bend as you're transferring. And then after you've transferred, you can sit down into your beginning position, meaning this one. So you basically wanna match, this is your first position, second position, you wanna match that second position and then match the knee bend of the first position. I hope that makes sense. I feel like that was a lot of words. Taylor and I are having a bet. We each edited a video, the Apple headphone AirPods video, and his vote, or his edit has 41 votes currently, and my edit has 40 votes currently. Dang it. All right, the booty. So the booty has to stay where it is. You don't want your hips to go forward or back. They're pretty centered. So wherever your center is, it's basically just, if you were to stand normal and then like sit a little bit, that is the position. So it stays right there, stays right there, stays right there. If anything, you do want to kind of stick it out when you're finished crossing right here. You can kind of push it back. When I say push it back, I don't mean like fully like this. It's just a little bit. Like the theory of there's a string at the top of your butt crack and someone is pulling it straight up. That. It's just a little shift, a little push. So from here, the booty stays the same, the knees stay the same, and then you can sit a little bit. And I know that's kind of contradictory, kind of going against each other, because I'm saying sit and lift the booty. When you sit, yes, you can sit, but at the same time, you have to feel that booty lift a little bit. It's so confusing. Now, the foot. So this foot needs to either come back to here or stretch out in front. Whatever you're most comfortable with. There's a time and place for each of those moves. Typically, if you're just outside skating, practicing it, you'll come back to here. So the trick here is to keep everything super solid and only move the foot. So nothing else should move, literally nothing else. When you pick up this foot, you don't want to move anything, because if you move something, it may cause this foot to lose control going over here or go up too high and send your weight back. You basically just need to know where this foot is so that if you're going around it, of course I clip my wheel when I'm saying that, know where this foot is, know where your wheels are so that you can reach around and get back into and position. And position is when the feet are next to each other. So you don't have to move it too much. Make sure you don't move it too high for yourself. If you're stretching it out in front, it should be about here. It should be at a comfortable place. You shouldn't have to be like lifting it, because the likelihood of you going backward is pretty high if you do that. It shouldn't be so low that it's touching the ground. It should just be lifted a little bit and pointed. If you can, please point your toes. There's not many things uglier to me than when someone has like say a point here, then they go like that and don't point that second foot. So make sure you're pointing your feet, please. Really, the only way to get comfortable with this is practice. Make sure when you are practicing it, as much as possible, to look straight ahead. I know it's really hard when you're working on a new trick or a new skill. You want to look down to make sure you're clearing your feet. That's very important in the very beginning, to know where your feet are so that you can clear it when you're doing this and stuff like that. Even at the beginning, knowing where the foot is so that you don't do this, which I actually do quite often. Like that, you don't want to hit your own foot. So you can look down when you're first learning it. I recommend looking down when you're doing it stationary. Then whenever you start rolling, make sure you are looking straight ahead, not down at the ground, not too far around and all that. Make sure your vision is straight ahead so that your body alignment stays the same. My dad used to tell me this all the time. He was like, the liquid in your brain, in your head, it needs to be level. You can't tilt it each way, because then it'll throw it off. I never listened. I always was like looking around trying to see what was going on. But anyway, I figured this out a few days ago because I was outside filming and there were a lot of cracks and I didn't want to balance for a long period of time on one foot and then cross. So you can do it pretty much from 2 feet. Just know that from 2 feet, you're gonna have to shift your weight over to that foot. So like if I'm skating and I'm like vibing on 2 feet, you have to shift your weight to that first foot and then do the cross. And if you don't wanna balance on one foot after the cross, you can pick up like the front wheels and skate it in front on the heel wheels. If you want to leave that foot on the ground, I suggest getting the foot back to over here as soon as possible, because skating like this or even like this is a little scary. You want it, if it's staggered, you want it staggered out here so you have more balance to the sides. Arms on cross behinds are a little weird. It's a little weird to add arm moves on cross behinds, so definitely work on the actual technique of the cross first before you start adding any arms in. You can do your arms in an L if that helps you. Your arms in the L should be toward the inside of your circle. So if I'm on an outside edge, that means I'm going like this. So I want my arms to be open this way. If I were going on an outside edge this way, then my arms would be open this way. So you can play with that as well. I just recommend holding on to something when you're first starting this because I'm all for having a little bit of help as you're doing this. Okay, thank you so much. Like I said, we will get to the toe spins and the strutting and all of the fun stuff. This is like, I mean, it's skills class. This is a skill. Cross behinds can be very fun because like the strut, how that's similar to cross in fronts, you can also strut backward, which I have done in choreography. If you want to get it real funky, it can be like the Running Man. Anyway, all right, thank you so much. I will see you later.